Hey everyone, it's Types, and today I'm going to be talking about some of the control decks from Paldea Evolved. These are not the control lists, but these are just the general ideas that I've been looking at, and I've seen some other people looking at, because controls can be very good in the next set, and I'm really excited for this because it has a lot of options. But first of all, I want to talk about the main new cards that control is going to be getting. So the main two that I think are enabling control to be much better are going to be Reversal Energy, which is 3 energy of any type. It can be, you can mix and match, and it's the conditions are you must be down on prizes, which control generally is, non-rule box Pokemon, which are mostly control Pokemon, and lastly, and most importantly, it needs to be on an evolution Pokemon. So we're going to be taking a look at 3 different builds of control. And not all of them are evolution based, so they can't all use reversal energy. But instead, we also have luminous energy, I believe is what the card is called, and acts as one of any type of energy, but only if you have no other special energy attached to this Pokemon, which brings up some interesting ideas and some kind of weird ones, with specifically the Ditto control deck we're going to be looking at. But I'm going to be looking at a Ditto control deck, or ideas, Ditto, Zoroark control, and Orbeetle control. These 3 decks are all, in my opinion, going to be very solid. I think Zoroark control will be the worst. I think Orbeetle control might actually be the best. And then we're also going to be getting Iono, which is the same card as N, if you're familiar with that. If you aren't, it doesn't really matter. It helps it, but it doesn't make the deck. We're getting Super Rad, which is a nice addition, but it recovers basic energy, so it's not a huge deal for special energy-based decks. And then we also do, currently in standard form, have double turbo energy, providing 2 colorless energy. So that will be used with possibly all these lists. But anyways, let's just hop into the ideas here. And I have actually talked about the new cards and some cards you may be wanting to pick up with this set in some separate videos, but this is just focused on control and ideas, and I'm going in more depth here. So first of all, the basic-based build is going to be focused around Ditto here. With its ability Sudden Transformation, this Pokemon can use the attacks of any basic Pokemon in your discard pile, other than Pokemon with the rule boxes. So this offers you a wide variety of options, but of course you can't do everything. But you're still in a very solid spot. And keep in mind there are other builds of control. You can mix and match things as well. So I'm not going to be talking about any multi-prizes except for one in this video. But Ditto here can be used with a wide variety of Pokemon. I suppose I'll start off with some of the setup-based ones. So Calyrex here has an attack that lets you for 2 colorless, search your deck for 2 cards, and then you also do 30 damage. There are some similar Pokemon to this as well. I believe there's a Victini with the same attack. But the idea here is just to simply set up. This is obviously very good with double turbo energy. But this actually brings us to the first problem. If you can't really put double turbo energy and luminous energy on the same Pokemon, then the luminous energy loses its effect. So that's important to keep in mind. I don't know if this Calyrex will be amazing. It's seen niche amounts of play in control previously, and Ditto control specifically. It's kind of cool. We've seen other similar Pokemon as well, like Starly. So that's something worth pointing out. Next up, I suppose I'll talk about. There's a lot to talk about here. I'll talk about Regieleki here, which is a very simple recovery Pokemon. And by the way, if I missed anything, please feel free to comment that down below. I've tried to include as many as I could think of or find out about online. But this Regieleki here, let's attack electromagnetic sonar, put a trainer from your discard pile into your hand. Again, there are similar options to this. Notably, more Pico from Battle Styles is kind of similar, but it's worse. And then there's also Dialga, actually, from Celebrations, which I'll actually bring up here. So I'm going to bring up Paldea from Celebrations, which is for a metal energy, but you can of course use this with luminous energy. So Regieleki recovers any trainer. Dialga here will recover any card for a metal energy. So that's actually a very solid option here to be able to do just recover anything, notably special energies. You can actually recover anything with Regieleki through the use of other recovery cards. If you want to recover Pokemon, you can recover things like Mariam or Super Rod or whatever. If you want Super Rod's like Ordinary Rod, recovers Pokemon and basic energies, by the way. And then if you want to recover trainers, you can just do that. If you want to recover energies, I mentioned Super Rod or other things. There are plenty of options. And then if you want to recover special energy, you can recover Roseanne's backup, which is okay. But then, yeah, the Regieleki here is quite solid, right? Allowing you to recover any trainer. But then if you want to be able to pair it with Luminous Energy, you can do Dialga instead to recover anything. I'm not sure which is better. It depends on the energy count you're playing. But we do actually have another Metal Pokemon here. But of course, recovering cards is very nice for any control-based deck. Although you can instead use Silene plus other combos, but that's not as good as Regieleki or Dialga. Although, of course, they will be using your attack. And also, by the way, essentially, there are other ways to end your turn without attacks. Notably Rotom V as well as Jubilife Village. I think those are the main ones, but they're not that good. Rotom V is okay, but the Jubilife Village isn't that good. But moving on to the next metal Pokemon here. This is kind of interesting for one metal. And this one I can honestly see it seeing play in a non-controlled decks as well. But for one metal, you do 20, and then if your opponent has a stadium in play, you discard it, so it needs to be their stadium. And then if you discard a stadium, you discard 2 energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. This card's theoretically very good, but as long as decks don't have a lot of energy acceleration, which right now they do, but if you're able to discard the energies, sometimes it can be very good and be very annoying for your opponent to have to deal with. This is very much a niche attacker, but during 1, 2, maybe even 3 turns, that it will be good in the game. It's very good. So Galarian Stunfisk here is definitely a very solid card. Of course, it's metal again, so if you're looking at basic types of basic energy to be running, one type could definitely be metal. That might be my suggestion, or probably psychic as well, because you can search it out with Fog Crystal. But metal energy here, very solid. We see 2 metal attackers. This Galarian Stunfisk has not seen any play as far as I was aware of. I didn't even know this card existed. I mentioned this in another video. This is a card you could pick up. But then, in terms of discarding energy, we also, unsurprisingly, have Yveltal, which is a 2 colorless attacker now, so you will be needing the double turbo energy. Or you could play Raihan as well. That's another possibility. But Yveltal discarding up to 3 special energy from your opponent's Pokemon in play. There's also a new supporter called Giacomo, and then there's Flannery to kind of replace Yveltal, but not the same. Yveltal here is very good, of course, if they're playing special energies. You could also play Shadowrite Calyrex V to deny special energies, but yeah, Yveltal is very good. I'll just say that. And then there's another dark Pokemon here. I'm kind of going out of order, but this one, Spiritomb, is a gusting Pokemon, so you can just gust for 1, which is nice, right? It's pretty solid. We've seen other Pokemon like this in the past, and we actually have a very similar one as well in Jinx, which had seen some play, and it's quite solid. Which gusts and confuses as well, which is kind of cool. For 2 colorless. So of course the Spiritomb is 1 dark, so you can use Luminous Energy. Jinx, you're looking to use double turbo energy. I think Jinx is a little better, but I'm not quite sure, and it certainly depends on the build you're running. You won't be playing both, though. I don't think. And then we also see, in terms of trapping Pokemon, or I suppose in getting them into play, we have Manaphy here, where for 1 water on a basic, which of course you can play water, but now you can play Luminous. You look at your opponent's hand if you. Or they reveal it, and then you put 2 basic Pokemon from there onto their bench, which is very useful for trapping Pokemon. You can then bring them up, gust them up with the attacks of either Spiritomb or Jinx. That's not Jinx, that's Jinx. Additionally, you can also then stop them from retreating with Mawile here, with Tempting Trap for 1 colorless on a basic. And this one has seen actually a lot of play, but it says pretty much your opponent's Pokemon can't retreat, and they also take more damage next turn. That doesn't matter too much, but stopping them from retreating is a very big deal and is very nice. Lastly, I think we only have 1 more Pokemon to look at. This one's actually really... Oh, no, we have 2. So Ralts here will... and this is, of course, generally part of the Curlia engine, but Ralts here, choose one of your opponent's active Pokemon's attacks. During your opponent's next turn, they can't use that attack. So that's just nice. Because, of course, stopping them from using an attack can be very good. This is kind of like the Morpeko we've seen in the past. The Lightning-type one that has Torment. We've seen various Pokemon similar to this, but I think this Ralts is quite possibly the... It's not the best version, but it's nice because it slots into the engine, and you can, as I said, use either Fog Crystal, or you can use Luminous Energy, or both, I suppose. And last but not least is this Love Disc. I've seen this one pop up a little bit, people talking about it. It's really interesting. Tackle's bad, but matching look. Each player reveals the top 2 cards of the deck and then draws them. Of course, this does give you more knowledge of the game, which is useful, but more importantly, it like essentially mills your opponent and you draw cards. Of course, it's not exactly mill because they do get to they get the cards, but it stops them from having them in their deck, so that can theoretically be good as a quote-unquote deck out option. It's not the best card in the world, but it's interesting, and I think it is worth running in some builds, and it's also only one colorless, so that's a very payable. Honestly, I'm not sure how Ditto control is going to be used, but I think it's a very solid idea. I think it might see play as a slot in other decks as well. I imagine this Mawile is definitely seeing play. Of course, Ralts will see play. Jinx could see play. Regieleki could see play. Galarian Stunfisk, I think, will see play. And then Yveltal will see play. Possibly Manaphy, possibly Love Disc. Some other ones could see play as well. And Ditto, of course, will see play as well. But yeah, I'm really excited for this. I think this is a really cool deck and cool idea. But let's move on to the next one because they just get more interesting. This is definitely the most boring, in my opinion. But now we're moving on to another one. I'm not sure how to use this one, honestly. I have not messed around with Zoroark control in a little while, but it's a really cool idea. So first of all, the idea, as I said earlier, is that you can use reversal energy on these evolution Pokemon. One of them's an EX, so you can't use it, but that's fine. You won't use it, but it's okay. You don't have to attack with it. Zoroark here, though, with its attack, its ability Phantom Transformation means that you can switch it with any other stage 1 in your discard pile. Very useful, giving you tons of versatility. Now, the ones I'm looking at here, there are a lot. First of all, there's this Hypno, which allows you to get other stage 1s into play. It's not great, but it's something, at the very least. But then the ones I think are best, first of all, Golduck here. This is the one I'm most excited for. I don't know how good it's going to be in specifically to the meta, but I do think it, as a general card for control, is very good. You can pay it for, of course, 1 reversal energy. I've talked about this before. You just discard both actives. Very, very good. So I think this Golduck will honestly be pretty insane, just for like removing threats on your opponent's side of the board. It's quite good. As I said, I think this is the weakest. I haven't probably fleshed out the least as well, but it's very solid. We do have the Area Dose, increasing your opponent's V-Star's attack cost, which is very nice. We also have Spite Ops EX here, of course, an EX, but increases their retreat cost. So this doesn't trap them by stopping them from retreating directly, but it kind of does. Oh, I didn't talk about Snorlax either. Snorlax is another way to stop him from retreating. It's not an attacker, it's an ability. And we talked about Mawile. There are various things, but Spite Ops, it just sits on the bench and kind of puts in work. So that's nice. And in terms of recovery, we have a very solid option, which can be worked with either Luminous Energy, Reversal Energy, or Basic Water Energy. Floatzel here allows you to recover 2 item cards from your discard pile into your hand. This is very nice because it's 2 cards as opposed to just 1. A lot of the times when you're looking to recover cards, it's items. So I think this Floatzel is pretty solid. At this point, I'll also mention a Whiscash from the next set, which is a mill-based Pokemon. And they can use reversal energy. I think I haven't looked at it too much either, but some people are talking about it. It's like the Scorch from whatever the one is that rotated that like was a mill Scorch. It's kind of like that, but anyways, it's not out yet. So instead, I'll talk about Wugtrio here, which I think is actually pretty solid. Payable for only 1 reversal energy. Flip 3 coins for each heads. Mill 3 from the top of your opponent's deck. This can certainly mill. It can mill anywhere from 0 to 9 cards. So it's pretty solid. I think Wugtrio here is definitely going to be a better deck now that it can attack for only 1 energy. So I'm really excited for this. And Expansion actually is going to be super exciting and super good. But anyways, Wugtrio here is going to be pretty solid as like a mill option. It's definitely better than the Love Disc that just draws your opponent 2 cards. It's really solid. You can definitely be milling lots of cards with this. And Wugtrio may very well be the best part of this deck, as well as Golduck, in my opinion. And last but possibly not least, it's this Slowbro that can take prizes. Of course, taking prizes is not the main win condition of control, but you could theoretically get your opponent locked down where they can't really do much of anything, and then just use this attack 3 times, and you just win the game. So this Slowbro honestly could be very solid and could be a Pokemon that is good. And there's some upcoming cards in Pokemon 151 which help us a little, but that's certainly a ways away, so we don't really need to think about that. But that's all I have for Zoroark control. Again, I'm not a master in this deck. I've played it, though. It's a really fun deck. With Floatzel is very good. Wugtrio, I think, will be very good, and Golduck will be very good. So I'm interested in seeing how this works. But if you have any other ideas, I'd love to hear them for this deck. But moving on to the final deck here, the Orbeetle control deck, which is one that I think is going to be honestly super good, and it hasn't seen much play before. I also don't know how to build this deck. But starting off, we have Orbeetle with this attack Evomancy, which is super good. In Expanded, this has actually seen play, and it's been quite good. But in Standard, it's been a bit slow, which is kind of weird because obviously Expand is faster than Standard. But Orbeetle here with this attack Evomancy, search your deck for each energy attached to this Pokemon, search your deck for Stage 2, other than Orbeetle, which is it's not that big of a deal now. And then put it onto your bench, and then shuffle your deck. So if you have a Reversal Energy on, that's 3 Stage 2s you're searching in your deck for and putting them onto your bench. Quite good. With Double Turbo, it's going to be 2. We have no Triple Acceleration Energy, but that's fine. Also, at this point, I'll mention Gothitelle, which is a Stage 2 that is not out yet, but will be coming out in the next set, as I'm assuming. And it's actually really interesting here with its ability that says you look at the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck, keep one on top, and put the other one on the bottom, give you nice control over your opponent's deck. Of course, this can be good, can be bad. You need to kind of figure that one out. But anyways, it's pretty good. I think it will definitely be good in this deck and possibly other decks as well. I actually, on my YouTube channel, made a poll saying which type of deck are you most excited for. I mentioned Grass Control. Grass Control also plays Gothitelle. Don't think Grass Control is amazing, but it does play that. Additionally, there's another Orbeetle, but there's one that rotated that was good, but obviously it's rotated, so we can't play it. And there's some other things. And now to get into the Stage 2s, I'll start with like the worst one, which is Florges, which removes weakness, which is okay. Also, I realized I forgot what one of these does. But first of all, we have Engine cards. We have Beautifly, which is not bad, allowing you to draw till you have 6 cards in hand, which is pretty solid. I don't know how big your hands will be, so I don't know if this is a good option. Also, its HPs are relatively low. Not as low as Orbeetle, though, which only has 110. Next up, we have Kingdra, which is... I realized I forgot. I'm going to add a card real quick that I forgot to add, which is going to be the Samurott, which I'm going to talk about next now. So this is Hisuian Samurott here. It has an ability that says you can discard a card from your hand to draw 3 cards, which is very nice. That's a lot of cards to draw. Very nice. You can get multiple of this, just draw tons of cards. It's pretty insane. And discarding 1 card to draw 3, this isn't bad at all. I think this will, honestly, you can even attack with this with the Reversal Energy, which is kind of funny. Is that a good plan? It's not a great plan, but it's something. But this is Hisuian Samurott. It's going to be a very solid draw engine. I think it's better than Beautifly. And then lastly, we have Kingdra, which is also very good with its ability that says each player, you choose one player, obviously you or your opponent, and they shuffle their hand, put it on the bottom of their deck, assuming they actually put cards there. They draw 4 cards. So that's nice, right? It allows you to draw cards, but more importantly, allows you to disrupt your opponent. Of course, this is only getting him down to 4, so it's not as strong as cards like Iona or Roxanne, but it depends on the game state for Iona. But presumably, it's not as good as those for disruption, but it's okay. I think this Kingdra is solid. I think the Hisuian Samurott is solid. I think the Beautifly is okay. And then lastly, we have one other engine piece. I believe this is the last one. Yeah, which is Gallade here, which says you can just search your deck for Supporter every turn. There's also a Gardevoir which you could run, but I don't think it's great. Gallade here, though, allowing you to search your deck for a Supporter every single turn. Gallade is super good because Supporters are super important to control-based decks because they are just, like, great. They are the backbone in this type of deck, so you have Boss's Orders, and you have stuff like Flannery or whatever to discard energy. I think they are the backbone of these decks. So, yeah, Gallade going to be super good here. Paired with probably Hisuian Samurott. They both have pretty big HPs as well. Hisuian Samurott with 170. Now time to take a look at, I suppose I'll take a look at the other Psychic Pokemon. There's Hatterene here, which says once during your turn you may switch your active with your bench, and if you do, your opponent switches their active with one they're benched. Some nice removal of their active, and then Salamence here does the same thing where it's the same idea where you send your opponent's active to their bench. You don't switch your own. Is that good? Is that bad? I'm not sure. I don't think it matters too much, though, between Hatterene and Salamence. Salamence does have much higher HP, though, so it's quite possibly better. And then in terms of another psychic Pokemon, we do have this Dusknoir that allows you to move your special energy around. I don't know if this is worth running because you're, of course, using, this could be any stage 2, and you're choosing Dusknoir, just moving the special energy around. I don't know if it's good enough, but you can move around the Versal energies, possibly double turbo, luminous energy, maybe, probably not, but you can move it around certainly, which is very useful. This could be good if your opponent's not playing too aggressively. It gives you much more versatility. Is it worth it? Again, I'm not quite sure, but I think it's an interesting consideration in this type of deck, giving you a lot of versatility. Next up, I'll talk about the colorless Pokemon, and the one I don't remember is Staraptor. So Staraptor for 3 colors, aka Reversal Energy, your opponent shuffles their active and all cards attached to it into their deck. It is not gone by any means, so you need to keep that in mind. But it is quite good because now your opponent, it's gone, right? For the time being, and then you can figure it out from there. So you just want to use Staraptor here, which is interesting. I don't know if it's amazing. It's kind of like the Golduck we looked at earlier as well. But next up, we have the Porygon Z, which is kind of interesting, and you can use Super Beam if you want. I don't love it, but it's not awful. It says whenever you attach an energy card from your hand to this Pokemon, you may leave your opponent's active confused. This is kind of like the Yellhorn we saw in the past, confusing both actives. And this Porygon Z actually has natural synergy with Dusknoir. You can attach the energy to Porygon Z, move it off using Dusknoir to some other Pokemon, which could be useful. And lastly, and certainly not least, we have, for colorless, we have Ursaluna, which I always call Ursalana. This card is absolutely insane. First of all, 180 HP is a really big, but also put up to 2 cards from your disco pile into your hand. These are any cards. We took a look at Floatzel, we took a look at Paldea, we took a look at Regieleki, I even mentioned Morpeko. Ursaluna is just better than all those. And you can heal it. You can tank and then heal. So you could literally just not share and secure this. You could, but don't do that because you can't ever get it back down then. But Ursaluna here, you can go ahead and just share. So you and then you recover your energy in your shell every single turn, and now you just essentially won the game with this Ursaluna. So this Ursaluna can be very good. I think it has the potential to just be pretty insane. Will it be good enough? I'm not sure, but I think against certain decks like Lost Zone, Ursaluna could be good. The other decks, I think, will struggle against Lost Zone, specifically the Zoroark one. But I think the Ursaluna will allow you to have a solid Lost Zone matchup with this Orbeetle type deck. So I'm really excited for this one. This is a card I've played before. It's pretty solid, and I think in Orbeetle control it's going to be even better. Lastly, we have a few dragon Pokemon here that are really interesting. First of all, Hisuian Gudra says prevent all damage to each of your basic Pokemon that has metal attached by your opponent's Pokemon of V. That's kind of specific, and I realize there's a Pokemon I should have talked about before now. This is okay. It's not amazing. Of course, it's a stage 2 base deck, so, it's not amazing. They can carry your Gudra. It's a Pokemon problems. But I figured it was in consideration just to mention. And next up, we have Gudra, though. This one is kind of toxic, also kind of good, as long as it's in your active spot. Whenever your opponent tries to attach an energy from their hand to a Pokemon, they must flip a coin. If tails, your opponent discards that energy instead of attaching it. And it doesn't use up their attachment for turn. I didn't realize it didn't use up their attachment for turn. That kind of makes sense. But that's still good, right? It really hurts them. Just being able to get rid of energy, it's kind of like a crushing hammer. So it's quite good. I think this Gudra is solid. I think it deserves to be ran in this type of deck. It might get cut, but it's solid. And yeah, the Pokemon I should have mentioned before is a Mimikyu from the new set, which is immune to Pokemon Vs and EXs. So nice little wall there. And better than Hisuian Gudra, right? Better than Miltank as well. Miltank we've seen before, but no need to play that, and it's lacking anyways. So, yeah. In terms of Ditto control, I realized I forgot to mention Ice Cube, which walls basics. Zoroark control, I realized I forgot to mention Glaceon, which walls evolutions. There are a lot of options, though. In terms of the deck I'm most hyped for is definitely the Orbeetle control list. But I hope you enjoyed the video, right? There's so many cool decks coming from the next set. And control's going to be so much better, specifically with Iono Reversal Energy. Those cards are going to make control so much better. So I'm really excited. I hope you are too. As I said, I'd really love any feedback you have because I'm not quite sure how to build all these lists. And so I haven't actually built them yet. This is all I have, right? But I hope you're ready, excited for the next set, right? It's right around the corner. We have we have like 5 days, 6, maybe 7 days. I don't remember, but we're within a week, I believe. So yeah, I'm hyped. I hope you are too. Also subscribe, right? I will be making, of course, more videos in the future. I'm doing daily uploads still, and I've got some big stuff planned, some little stuff planned, but I promise it's all gonna be amazing. So as I said, I hope you enjoyed, and thank you so much for supporting me, and I'm excited to see you in the next video.